Welcome to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me is Gilbert Manzano, NFL staff writer for Sports Illustrated. Gilbert, the Rams have clinched a playoff spot, and now we're in the backup battle of number two picks. I'm sure Ram fans are excited, but how are you? How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, and I just got to say that we've been, discussing this, Week 18 matchup, 49ers Rams, and we kept saying, you know what, maybe the Rams might need it to make the playoffs, or hey, maybe the 49ers might need it to get the number one seed. Where everything is wrapped up, and here we are in a somewhat meaningless game. Hey, but they're still planning to talk about Carson Wentz and Sam Darnold. Hey, kind of a nice matchup.
Yeah, I mean, nobody saw this coming in terms of, I think if you would have told people, hey, you're going to get Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz, Rams versus 49ers week 18, I think people would have been like, are you crazy? But here we are. And, just as we jump on, we already got some comments here. So, if you're joining us for the first time, go ahead, give us your comments. We're going to get into it. There's a lot to get into. There's not going to be, we're going to change things up a little bit, Gilbert, for this episode because there's no real preview here. I mean, there's nothing for us to kind of preview between these two teams just because they're going to pretty much rest their starters at this point. So we're going to talk a little bit about mostly concentrate on the Rams. We'll talk a little bit about the 49ers here and there, but it's mostly about talking about the Rams clinching this playoff berth and then what happens next. Do they rest their guys? What happens with Puka Nacua? We'll get into all that,
Yeah.
Gilbert. But let's start off. Where do you want to start the show with, Gilbert?
You know what? How about the engagement question? About getting started, maybe that'd be the nice way with the Puka Nacua kind of sort of dilemma. I don't know if it's really a dilemma, but I do want to hear from the listeners and viewers of House of Horns. What do they think about Puka Nacua and chasing history? How about, so you want to start with the engagement question?
Yeah, go ahead and
Okay.
let the people know what it is.
All right. For the engagement question of the week 18. So Puka Nacua came close to breaking the rookie receiving record in New Jersey, to be exact, and fell a little short. So that's the question. Should the Rams let Puka Nacua get the rookie receiving record in week 18 in a meaningless game against the 49ers? The playoffs are wrapped up, and he's a very, very important player. I'll give you my answer. I say no. Keep the guy healthy. Records. I know it goes a long way, and it's a very important record. But people are going to complain and say, "Well, he did it in 17 games, so you're not going to please everybody." But I want to hear your thoughts. If you're here watching on the live, I see a comment already from Nick Talks LA. Shout out to you, Nick. First comment of the night. But let me know, should the Rams let Puka Nacua get the rookie receiving record? We somewhat saw this a few weeks ago with the Browns. Amari Cooper wanted the receiving record for the franchise in Cleveland. Stefanski said no, and eventually he came back because I think I want to say that the Texans came back, so they put Amari Cooper back in the game, got the reception, broke the record, but he didn't play the next week. Who knows what happened there? Maybe he got hurt on the play. I do not know, but you got to avoid the injuries. I just want to hear your thoughts here. Should the Rams at Puka get the rookie receiving record? And I want to hear yours too, Vic.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think that I'm with Sean McVay. He was asked this specific question, and this is what he had to say, Gilbert. He said, "I think you'd like to see him get an opportunity to do something special, and then be smart with him." So, I mean, he only needs 29 yards, Gilbert. I think if you get him out there, you get him to,
Mm.
but as you talked about, you don't want to get him hurt. You mentioned this happened. The same situation happened last year with the Los Angeles Chargers
Oh
and
yeah.
playing Williams in that final game, and then he wasn't healthy enough to play. I mean, he played in that Jacksonville game, but it goes to show you that hey, you're better off just going in healthy with your guys. But this is a really good question because what do you do? Do you, allow the kid, I mean, at the same time, they're putting him out there to block. He's out there doing the dirty work as your number one guy. So, I mean, I'm with Sean McVay. I think you give him, you be smart about it, and then you get him out of there. Just give it a try, see if you can get the record in the first quarter. If you don't play him the rest of the way, Gilbert.
I don't know. It's a little risky, but I get it. These records are remembered for a long time. But who knows the way the NFL is going? I think I just saw I saw a top five. Like, is not names you don't recognize. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Anquan Bolden. Not even want to go a little further, but Bill Groman was the one that went way, way, way back. But I don't know. I rather prioritize the playoffs, but then again, it is special, and I get that. And if you're somewhat, cautious and smart about it, because this guy he does so much. He's always banged up, and what was it last week? He was, he went on the injury report, but he still played. Like he's always dealing with something. But I get maybe in a meaningless game, you could have less assignments, less responsibilities, and maybe get a couple of quick out routes and just kind of keep going and going for the 29 yards and get the record and maybe call it a day. I don't know, but
Yeah.
hope McVay's ready to take the backlash if something happens. But let's not start the show on a negative note because last week I caught a lot of heat for being negative.
Yeah, and I mean him and Kyle Shanahan have a good relationship to where I can see them like kind
Yeah.
of agreeing to something, without telling anybody. But who knows? We'll find out. That's why they're the ones that get paid. But Gilbert, before we get into talking about the more in depth into the Rams and what they've accomplished this season, going 9-7. Uh, what can people do to help us get to Super Bowl Radio Row?
Yeah, some quick promos, and you know what? I'll start with the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway, and the way you can help us out there is helping us get to 1,000 subscribers here on the channel House of Horns. We're already like at 806, 805, so that's awesome to see us get to that milestone. There, it's not easy to run a YouTube channel and then get to 800 subscribers. So we appreciate that. We love the support here on House of Horns, but we want to get to 1,000, and we get a little antsy, so we wanted to think of a way to get there sooner, but also repay people for helping us get there. So you want to participate in the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. If you're new here, pretty simple, at least I think. Keep watching the show, and eventually we're going to drop some keywords for the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. All you got to do is comment with those keywords, and then I lock you in for an entry. And we've been doing this since what, like, I don't know, week 6, 5, whenever Puka became an instant star, which was kind of like week 1, but we wanted to give away a jersey. We've been keeping tabs every Wednesday, and so a lot of people have entries 4 or 5 because they've been watching the show. But if you want an extra entry to the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway, send me an email, Gilberto at compasonthebeat.com, Gilbert with the no at compasonthebeat.com, and when the keywords come out, send me an email with the words and then the time that they dropped, and then also your YouTube channel name if it's not your regular name. So I'll keep tabs on it. And the reason why we do is because people can easily just copy the comments that they see and then say just do the same thing to get one cheap entry that way. But you want to get an extra one, send me an email for 2. And I've been seeing people participate. It's been pretty cool to see a handful of people like do it every single week and then also send me an email. So whenever we get to 1,000, hopefully sooner rather than later, it's going to be a nice little, I guess, a competition for this jersey. And again, it's we're going to wait to buy the jersey whenever somebody wins it because we got to get the size, the color, anything that needs to be right for this jersey.
Yeah, there you go. And then, if you need to get a hold of me, I'm at Victor at compasonthebeat.com as well. If you want to send me any, you want to send me any questions you have for the show, we can share them on here, which is pretty much what we're going to do today, Gilbert. We want you guys to participate, leave a comment. We already have one, which we'll get to. I just want to get through our news and notes, and then the rest of the show is just you guys. You let us know what your questions are, and then we'll answer from there. But Gilbert, what else can
Yeah.
people check out on the Compas on the Beat network?
A few promos, and again, to help us out this time is to get to the Super Bowl Radio Row. We've been fortunate here on the Compas on the Beat network, which is the main channel for under House of Horns or above House of Horns, or I forget, whatever. Compas on the Beat, and then House of Horns, and then What's Up Bolt and Combat Compas. We have a network growing here, so we've been fortunate to get to Super Bowl Radio Row the last couple of years, but we're trying to get there again in Las Vegas, and they kind of hit your wallet, so it gets a little pricey. So things for housing, creating content, equipment, things like that. So if you're able to help out, no pressure, but there's a couple links here. The first link is a PayPal link to donate, link in the description, and you can help out that way, whatever you can. And then the other one is you want to get some merch here, Compas on the Beat. I got a hat here, Compas on the Beat. There's also a link there for there you go, a banner too. Certified Compas.shop, and you help us. You buy some merch there, that will go a long way too, helping us get to Super Bowl Radio Row and creating content, buying equipment. Or the third option could be many options here. Is keep watching here on the live and maybe do a super chat, super like, and I always say super whatever because I don't really understand it. But last week the worm had a nice donation. We really appreciate that. So shout out to you again. So that's it for promos. But if you want to help out the network, no pressure. But just watching the show, liking it, subscribing, telling a fellow compa, hey, subscribe to this channel, or a fellow Rams fan to increase subscriber base, be awesome. So there's multiple ways to help us out, but just by watching here, it really we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's free to subscribe. We're not asking for anything. We're just trying to, if you want to help, there's your options for us. I mean, like I said, we started about a year and a half ago now, Gilbert, and just to see the growth of this community has been awesome. There's a lot of people who come back and they're, like the worm, like you just said, who come back and they share their comments. So it's really cool to see that, and we can't wait to read all your comments, when we're done here or while you're watching here. We're always happy to have your comments and share them, and that way we can talk a little bit more. But Gilbert, let's get to the Rams news and notes here, plus the injury report. So I'll go quickly here. It just came down a couple minutes ago. Four Ram players are selected to the 2024 Pro Bowl games: Puka Nacua, Aaron Donald, Kyron Williams, and Matthew Stafford. Any surprises there for you?
No, well, I guess I'll say a little surprised. Like for sure, I'm not surprised because they're deserving. All four are really deserving for that. But sometimes when it's a rookie, they're like, I don't know, these guys need to wait another year. And especially wide receivers, so many talented players. And to see Puka Nacua with CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, I'm blanking on the was it Justin Jefferson? I don't know if it's him because he missed a lot of games. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jefferson makes it alone on a big time name. So if you're in that class with NFC, Puka Nacua did a lot of things right. So I'm glad he got in. I think he definitely was one of the top four Pro Bowlers. And also, this is one that really counts because there's people that pull out late and they don't want to go. And then you kind of get asked on the as an alternate or the second alternate and say, do you really care? This one cares. This is the one that it's not as high as an all pro, but it's really up there when you get on the first try. And same thing with Kyron Williams. Like, I told you the other day, like if he wasn't hurt, I bet he would have pushed Christian McCaffrey for the rushing title. So he's leading the league in rushing yards per game. So he did miss the 4 games. He went on IR, but he hasn't missed a beat. So he's such a vital piece for this Rams offense. And then Stafford, man, he deserves also consideration for comeback player of the year. Just dealing with that injury with the spinal cord contusion, we were like wondering he's going to play again. He couldn't feel, his legs in New Orleans. So it was a very serious injury. Had a concussion too. So to come back from that and then to be dealing the way he has been since the bye week and staying healthy, definitely deserving for him. And then obviously Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald. He does like it. Like if you're a casual football fan, maybe it's a little tough to tell when Aaron Donald's putting in work, but when he's clogging lanes, commanding the gap or commanding double teams, triple teams, you're letting guys like Kobe Turner, Michael Hoyt, Byron Young do their thing. That's a whole Aaron Donald effect. So every single year, maybe we could debate like is he still the best defensive player in the world? I think he's still up there. But every year for the last 10 years, he's been a Pro Bowler, so obviously always deserving for him.
Yeah, I mean, and just coming off the injury, and just it looks like he's found his joy to play again. I mean, I think having these young guys, like you mentioned, Kobe Turner, and Byron Young, and those guys have kind of re-energized him, and it's been awesome to see. And to your point, Gilbert, as you were talking there, Kyron Williams is on pace to be the only player in NFL history to finish top two in rushing yards while missing 4 games.
Wow.
I mean, that's incredible. And then one omission that I wanna, I'm gonna push for is Ernest Jones. I mean, Ernest Jones has the most tackles in franchise history, and he did that in 15 games, Gilbert. So there's no like, well, you had 16 or 17. No, I mean, and then the previous record was held by James Laurinaitis, who did it with the St. Louis Rams, and he had 142. So that's pretty cool. I hope we get to see Jones get, as you talked about with some of the guys who end up dropping out, that we get to see, because he deserves it. Outside of, I know we've talked about Kobe Turner, and I'll get to him as well, but just to see Ernest Jones up there, just with what he's done with this team. We talked about it, when when Bobby Wagner left this team, last year he was the heart and soul of that defense in term. And I know it wasn't a good defense, but I think he was a big influence on Ernest Jones. And I know he didn't play as much as he wanted to, but having getting to learn behind Bobby Wagner really helped him, and it's kind of built his resume for this season. And he's even with playing hurt, man, it's been awesome just to see him, Gilbert.
Yeah, I was checking right now to see on the press release for the Rams if Ernest Jones made it at least as an alternate. I didn't see his name on there. Maybe they just haven't included it or hasn't came out yet. But I hope he's an alternate and gets in there. Obviously you got the 249er linebackers in there, Greenlaw and Fred Warner. You got to compete with, but hopefully he's as an alternate, maybe he gets a try there. He's so vital for the defense, and without him, like obviously you need AD, but without him, really protecting or being the eraser of run defense, pass defense, doing a little bit of everything, setting the tone, and being physical. He really helped this, underrated defense that for the most part you could say lacked talent. He masked a lot of issues here and really gave people a boost there of energy, and that energy I think comes from what he got from that mentorship from Bobby Wagner. I talked to Ernest Jones for a couple of times actually once before the season started, and once at the end in Seattle. Remember, and like he like just kind of took his time with his sponsors and kind of told me, especially in Seattle, what it meant to work with Bobby Wagner and to be a professional, even though the season was lost. Like you better bring it every single day. And I think he probably learned that and set the tone for the younger guys for 2023.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff usually isn't brought up, especially in a lost season, kind of like what the Rams had last season, in terms of, look, you had a bunch of injuries, you finished near the bottom in every category, your big guys got hurt, whether it was Aaron Donald. But having a guy like Bobby Wagner, I know a lot of people, brought up this week, well, Bobby Wagner said he wanted to play for a winning team and he might not even make the playoffs. But honestly, like I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, look, that guy did his job, and I think he deserves big credit for what you've seen out of someone like Ernest Jones.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it will suck for Bobby Wagner, but let's not feel too bad. He had a Super Bowl and he won a lot, but
Yeah, I know. I
I'm
know.
sure he takes a lot of. Well, I don't know if he takes credit, but I'm sure he knows that he helped out that locker room, especially when everybody was hurt. Like AD didn't play, Cooper Cup didn't play, Stafford didn't play, and it was like him and a bunch of younger dudes. I'm sure that meant the world for these young guys, and I'm sure for Raheem Morris and Sean McVay that they'll give them credit when you look back at 2023 and how did they make this turnaround? How did they do it when everybody counted them out? It's supposed to be a rebuild year. I'm sure they'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, and my biggest takeaway, I mean, you were there in that locker room and you told me, I mean, that guy, Bobby Wagner always answered the call no matter how bad the loss was. And to me,
Oh
I
yeah.
always remember that. Like you take those little things and you think about, oh, well, how were the Rams able to rebound after last season and have this 9-7 season where they make the playoffs? It's because of dudes like that. And you can't forget about that, Gilbert.
Yeah, and I think Jalen Ramsey also finished the year, so I'm sure he gets a lot of big credit, especially taking some of these younger DBs too under his wing. So yeah, obviously the roster changes every single year, but you know, it is a good time to kind of see how this roster did it because some people called me out for criticizing this roster that Les Knee had, and he kept saying it's not a rebuild, it's a retooling year, and I guess he was right. So he deserves some consideration for executive of the year. And then you got Sean McVay saying like, "Yeah, I promise you, I'm coming back to 2024." When a year ago, like around this time, he was considering leaving for the TV booth. So a lot of things change, and maybe it happened with the people who were fighting last year to carry that momentum. And I get it. Sometimes people say, "Hey, like you shouldn't fight for a draft spot. You should fight for winning games and building a winning culture." And I think that actually that stuff, it could be a cliche. I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I just think people don't talk about those things, and it's like those kind of things get forgotten, and I think they need to be brought up. All right, Gilbert. I asked our community, what they thought of, the fact we kind of talked about it post game about it was time for the Rams to cut Lucas Haversick, and then Monday morning comes around. he's been cut, and then they bring back Brett Maher. And so I asked, I said, how are you feeling after uh bringing back Brett Maher? So I'll ask you, because we had a lot of, we had the most comments we've ever had when we've asked our community, the House of Homes community. So I'll give you the floor here. What are your thoughts on bringing back Brett Maher, and then the kicking situation? Are you feeling better about the Rams kicking situation, Gilbert?
I think I saw the comments. I think I could side with the people here. Like it kind of just feels like I don't know. Like it kind of feels like okay, well you dumped the guy for a reason, and then the other guy wasn't better, and then you had another guy, Mason Crosby, but then you let him go, but then he helped you out in New York. So everything about this kicking situation has been a mess. So I don't know. Like I don't. I would just say this. Like I don't feel good about it, but it doesn't feel like the Rams are totally screwed. It kind of feels like they're in the same spot. Like I don't know who's better from the two. So it's kind of like I'm trying to remember. Maher, yeah, Maher's experience. So I think maybe that's what it is. He's been around the league. So Lucas is a
Yeah,
rookie, right? So I think maybe that could
yeah,
be something there.
yeah, and I mean, so a lot of people brought up the fact that the team probably just panicked, just because, like, I even thought, look, he was put in a terrible situation where he was kicking 50 plus field goals and he was missing them, and I think that's part of the problem, is like, you just need a guy who can make them inside the 50. And I think you're fine with Maher. His big thing is that everybody remembers what happened last year around this time, and that was that he missed a bunch of extra points for the Cowboys
Oh yeah.
against the Bucks. And so that's the one thing are kind of concerned about. But I think there's a much bigger issue here, Gilbert, and I just think it's not the kicking. It's more than the kicking woes. It's the whole special teams unit, and I think we might see a change there. We've seen Sean McVay tinker with his coaching staff, and I don't see how they bring back their special teams coordinator next season. But I don't think it's his fault either. It's just somebody has to bite the bullet. We know how things work in the NFL, right, Gilbert?
Yeah, after what we saw last year with McVay's coaching staff, a lot of people got let go because it was a bad year. And this year is going to be focused more on the special teams, and we'll see what happens with Raheem Morris if he gets a fair shake to get a head coaching job, and maybe it could be changes there on defense. But a special teams, like I think this game here with the 49ers, I think this is the one area you can really focus on because you can't focus on closing down an opponent when nobody's even trying, and then you can't focus on having better passing defense because again it's like it's not the starters but special teams. I think you could clean it up. You could have a nice operation. Anybody who contributes on special teams on the regular like better be out there. You better make your assignments. Just make no mistakes. No kick returns, no punt return touchdowns. Maybe no missed field goals, a clean snap, a good handle there for the ball, for the holder, things like that. I think this might be the game where you can really focus on special teams. And you're right, it's not just on the kicker. They have a lot of problems here. So it's not that simple. And then the other part, like it is that he has experience. He won't be nervous out there. I do like that part of it. And then he was playing Maher, that is, he was playing when the Rams were still trying to find their groove offensively. Now with this, high powered attack, these field goals won't be as long. Maybe he's okay with making the 30 yarders, and that's all you need for an offense that doesn't punt often. And they do have some red zone issues, so you do want to score when you get in there to not give it to the kicker. But that's kind of been cleaned up a little bit actually from one of the areas. We could really talk about four, but that the red zone one's kind of been a distant fourth. So you score touchdowns and maybe make them closer, and you're okay. And then say you have to go to Dallas or Detroit, wink, 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 indoor venues, so maybe not a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, outside of now that the Eagles lost, and you might have the Cowboys being the number 2 seed, the number 1 seed is the 49ers, so you know what to expect in Santa Clara. It's either going to be, outside, you might get some rain depending if you have to face them in the divisional round, but we'll get to that. But like you said, if you either play the Cowboys or the Lions, it's an indoor stadium, so you should be fine in terms of your kicking situation there. But one more thing to talk about in terms of the kicking situation, the team released Alex Matheson, the long snapper, from their practice squad, which means Carson Tinker is the long snapper going forward. As we talked about, they lost their starter at the beginning of the year. From the beginning of the year, I should say, a couple of weeks ago with a bum shoulder to injured reserve, and then the Rams also signed Dresser Wynn to the practice squad, which kind of gave people the impression that we would see the battle of the backups, which we did get. So here we are. We're gonna get, and then one more other note in terms of signing, which also kind of gave us a clue that the Rams were gonna rest a bunch of the starters, was that the Rams signed wide receiver Tyler Johnson to the active roster as well. So, I mean, just wanted to give that, and then I know we had some people ask about this, so um, we finally got news on cornerback Duke Shelley. So he's been designated to return. So I'm sure a lot of people are happy about that because we've seen a lot of blown coverages since he's been gone. So
Mm.
that's big news, Gilbert.
Yeah, definitely. The more help you can get at DB, that I don't know what happened to this team since that. Well, I guess the Baltimore game was kind of when it really started, but uh, maybe I have a question for you because any update on maybe the long snapper coming back for the playoffs because this will be his fourth game miss. I think he got hurt in the Baltimore game. Maybe I'll be wrong. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but
No, you're
uh,
right.
okay, so maybe he has a chance to come back and not be big, but I don't know. And long snapper is all about having a rhythm, and maybe you don't want to risk somebody who hasn't been in rhythm for a month. I don't know. It's a lot of problems, but we are talking about long snapper. That's something I'm really trying to focus on, and the kicker situation, and just overall the special teams unit. And like we mentioned a couple shows back, like we have so many young guys that are asked to be starters or play full time snaps. Like that really diminishes your special team. You can't have guys focus on that. So uh, we'll see. Maybe again, when you have an explosive offense, you can minimize some of the damage there. But yeah, and then definitely if you cover better, maybe that could help out too. I don't know what happened to that area of the defense, but yeah, you get another DB, that could definitely help out.
Yeah, and I mean, here we are. I mean, we're on it. It's a bye week for both teams, for the Rams and the 49ers. Usually we would be, going over player matchups, keys to the game. But honestly, at this point, the Rams, Ram fans are happy that they've clinched, and 49er fans are happy that they get the number one seed. They get a bye week, and then, well, they get 2 weeks off, essentially, if you're the 49ers, and then the Rams, we've seen, and then we'll get into it, whether are you happy with is it a good thing that the Rams have decided to rest their starters for this game? But one last thing I wanted to go over with you, Gilbert, and that has to do with defensive tackle rookie Kobe Turner. So after his 2.5 sack performance against the Giants, he was not even in the running. Like, you couldn't find any odds for him to bet on him
Yeah.
for defensive rookie of the year, rookie defensive player rookie of the year. Yeah. And now, because Ram fans were voiced their displeasure with that, uh, he is now third behind Jalen
Wow.
Carter and Will Anderson. And then one cool thing about Kobe Turner is the fact that since Aaron Donald had 9 sacks as a rookie, there's only been 3 other defensive tackles who have had that many sacks, and that is DeForest Buckner, Chris Jones, and now Kobe Turner. So, I mean, you talked about it when I asked you post game, hey, what's is he gonna is should Kobe Turner win the rookie defensive player of the year? You said that you didn't see it just because they're he doesn't have a name behind him, and but now you have Aaron Donald and other guys, kind of cheering for him. So do you see him like at all now that people are starting to notice, or it doesn't change things? It'll probably be Jalen Carter or Will Anderson.
Yeah, I think it sucks that it's a kind of a popularity contest, and it's weird because they make a lot of these, mostly AP writers or beat reporters that just focus on one team. So like when you need to do like the voting for a general NFL national stuff, you kind of go off of what you hear mostly, which is easy to consume or to spot. And obviously, Will Anderson had a monster game last week, and he's a top 3 pick. So that's why when you said the odds, I'm like, oh, he went up. Cool. Like the Will Anderson. And he's had some good moments there. It took him a while to come on. He was actually my pick in the preseason. So if he gets it, then I'll look good. But he just started doing it. Kobe Turner has been more consistent. I feel like Jalen Carter's been the most dominant, like he's been the most effective, but he's actually been struggling this past month because he's not really used to the cardio of a long NFL season. You could tell that the Eagles have been missing that play, and they've been trying to like cut back on the snaps there, asking Jordan Davis to do a little more, and which is also a bigger dude. So they've been trying to catch their breath there. So and then he's kind of made some dumb mistakes too, on the field. So I think it's gonna be Jalen Carter because he what he did from September to November, and then Will Anderson came on too late. But hopefully when the voting comes out, like he has a couple of votes there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't because again it's a popularity contest. But and then yeah, Devin Witherspoon he got hurt too, so he hasn't really done much. But it might come down to those two defensive linemen not named Kobe Turner.
Yeah, and I just hate the fact that they make the excuse that, oh, well, he has Aaron Donald getting triple team. But I mean, look at that Philly defensive line. It's stacked. I think if you're going to make an argument for anybody as well, Anderson, because, he's just been coached up. I mean, I didn't expect a lot out of that Texans defense. And so, outside of that, I think it should be between Will Anderson and Kobe Turner. But, like I've learned as you have that if you've been expected and you play for a team that's making the playoffs, like the Eagles were at the beginning, I think most likely it's going to go to Jalen Carter. And because his name has been out there for the major part of the season, I'm with you. I think he's the one that's going to get it, which sucks, but it's cool to see this. What Kobe Turner has been doing. I just want to say, Gilbert, before we move on, we're gonna get to your comments, so continue to send your comments. I'll get to everybody. We got Nick Talks LA, Alonso Takanga, and we have Michael Armenta. There we go.
And real quick, Victor, I know we got to move on, but I just want to make a note that Aaron Donald doesn't just say things just to say them. Like when he says this guy is the defensive rookie of the year, like that really goes a long way. Like if he felt like this guy's kind of been, riding my coattails, he wouldn't say anything. Like obviously he would just, won't make a big deal about it. But him saying that, a guy who's very, doesn't talk that often, he doesn't like to talk to media. He's not the most vocal person. He's more of a lead by example guy. So if you're making him do a couple of tweets or him telling his publicist go write a tweet, that goes a long way for me. I feel like.
Yeah, and that was huge because you usually don't hear from him this time of year, and so that says a lot. And maybe him getting his name out there is going to help even more. I mean, he's at right now. He's Kobe Turner is at plus 700. So if you want to go and make a little
Okay.
wager, go and put a little bit of money on Kobe Turner there. All right, Gilbert. Before we get to Rams and 49ers storylines, let's get to some of these comments.
Yeah.
We got Nick Talks LA says, "Hey guys, I'm excited for this game. Uh,
This
I want
picture.
to know what you're excited about. Like we want to know. I mean, we're not trying to be funny. We just want to know what you're excited about. Are you wanting to see Puka Nacua try to break the record? Are you just trying to see Carson Wentz and see what he brings to the table? I mean, because at this point, it's hard for us to kind of see what people. I want to know what people are excited about and what they're wanting to watch from this game, because I know that not a lot of people are going to tune in to watch this game, right, Gilbert? I mean,
Yeah, but I think I'm gonna guess for Nick, but maybe he's still watching, and he'll let us know. But I'm intrigued because now it's Sam Darnold versus Carson Wentz because these are two former number two picks. Carson Wentz in 2016 after Jared Goff, and then 2018 Sam Darnold. Or was he number three? No, actually, he might be number three. Yeah, because it Baker Mayfield, Saquon. Did I get it wrong? I think I got it wrong. Saquon, Barkley, and then Darnold. Okay, I got it wrong. Not number two.
top
So
five picks.
yeah, whatever. Here we go. Top five picks. I messed it up, but I'll double check. And so they're big names, and these are guys that got opportunities in other places to make a name for them. Early success. Well, I don't know about Darnold too much, but Wentz for sure. And a lot of people like Carson Wentz has a lot of fans, especially from North Dakota area. Maybe some Philly people, or I don't know about Colts or Commanders because it went so south. But I want to see what he's done in the past year. Like, is he gonna have like a Joe Flacco game? And hey, I'm ready to go, and I'll be a good backup here, or maybe it's a start where he shows something, and then he makes it as a competition, like a starting competition job somewhere else. because I've been reading some stories on Joe Flacco, and all these anonymous executives are saying, "Hey, we thought this guy was washed. We had no idea he's going to play this well. That's why nobody called the guy." And sometimes you just miss something. I mean, it could be something with Carson Wentz here. He had to wait a long time before the Rams called. And then with Sam Darnold, the whole narrative that Kyle Shanahan's quarterback friendly scheme. I get he's not going to play with Debo and Ayuk, but I still want to see how the scheme looks with Sam Darnold. Are you able to protect the football? He had an interception with the Ravens. I'm like, that's the same Darnold that I recognize. And people try to tell me that Darnold is going to be reinvented in San Francisco. Well, I know it's backups, but you're playing number 2 backups in LA. You better look good too. I don't care if you're playing with the 5th wide receiver in San Francisco. So so there's little debates here. People are saying, "Hey, Carson Wentz still has a lot," or people are saying Darnold will look good in San Francisco. Play him over Purdy. Like I want to see some of these narratives quiet down a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, and just thinking about, Carson Wentz and Sam Darnold now, I keep thinking about this is now over 60 different quarterbacks that have started a game this season, Gilbert. I mean, I've told you that I think going forward, now that we have a 17 game season, you're gonna start seeing more teams prioritize backup quarterbacks. And I think, with Carson Wentz and Sam Darnold, these are two guys that people are gonna start looking at going forward. Like, you're gonna invest in paying backup quarterbacks because we're seeing the starters go down every week now. I mean, when you have over 60 different quarterbacks play the position, that tells you a lot. So let's continue on here, Gilbert. We have Alonso Tacan. He wants to know if this is the Affleck guy here. And no, my wife Megan, she this is hers, and her dad is a referee, a high school referee, and so this was a something that she wanted to do for her dad. So she's like, "Hey, you want to use him?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll use the Goose referee, especially with all the things we've been seeing with referees. I just wanted to give the referees a little shout
Yeah,
out here."
the Goose
So
could do a better job than
yeah,
the ref from the Cowboys Lions game for sure.
yes. So there you go. And then we have Michael Armenta. He wants to, what's going on, fellas? It's Niner week. Yeah. Unfortunately, we were expecting this to be a competitive matchup, but everybody's, as we talked about, both the Rams and the 49ers are planning to rest their starters. So it's kind of lame, but here we are. Like, we understand why both of these teams are resting their players. As we said, it's a 17-week season now, and teams are just, I think they're looking at the data and they're seeing that, hey, it's better for us to rest our players and be healthy going into the playoffs, right, Gilbert?
Yeah, if you look at the data, like if teams that have rest or at least at home or whatever, rest or home, they tend to win the game. That goes a long way. And this whole thing about, well, you got to be in a rhythm. And I'll go off of Michael's comments here. I wanted the stars to play first half, back up second half, and it could be because maybe you're concerned about rust and losing the rhythm that you've developed with Kyron and Puka and Cooper and the whole crew there. You know, for maybe the bigger problem could be made for the 49ers because they have to go 2 weeks. But when McCaffrey is a big part of your offense and he plays running back, I think 2 weeks is just fine. Same thing with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Like he couldn't finish the last 2 seasons. Now keep that guy healthy in 2 weeks. Imagine trying to catch that guy on fresh legs. Good luck with that. So, I always favor rest. And the second that McVay, started making these moves and made it pretty obvious he's gonna have the backups. I'm all for it. That's cool too, and that's why I'm saying like, selfishly, I want to see the Rams play the Lions. 3 versus 6 matchup there. You know, but Cowboys Rams part 2 is not a bad thing because these are two different teams from that beat down in Dallas there. So in a way, I could also see maybe Carson Wentz leading a victory against the backups of the 49ers, and you still get the 6th seed, and we still all get the dream matchup, and it all works out. Or maybe the
The
Bears
Bears
handle beat the Packers, and you get the 6th seed that way. And the Bears have a lot to play for. Like they've been rolling. Like Justin Fields, it's gotten to the point where I want to see Justin Fields stay in Chicago. Like he's playing pretty well right now. So there's other scenarios that could still work in their favor. But this is the right move is having the guys healthy.
Yeah, and I'm with you, and we'll talk about it during storylines. I'll go over some of the things where, what is the advantage of being a 6 seed and a 7 seed, or disadvantage? I'll go over that, and then you got to get it in a shot there and call end of the regular season misery against the Winers. So, yeah, and then we have Delbert Salgado, who always checks in with us, whether it's here or
Yeah,
on Compas on the Beat. Shout out to you, Delbert. Says a lot about AD considering some of teammates who he played with in his Ram career. So, he's going back to our topic when we were talking about, AD saying the fact that he's out there talking about Kobe Turner and the fact that he should be the defensive rookie of the year. That says a lot. And then NorCal versus SoCal. Let's go around, Michael Armenta.
there,
And yeah,
Michael's
I
ready.
mean, yeah, we were looking forward to this matchup. We were hoping this would be the Sunday night game, but hey, the Rams are in the playoffs, and that's all that really matters. All right, Gilbert, let's get to Rams 49ers storylines now. Continue to send your comments. We'll share them on here. This show, it's about you guys today because we don't have any player matchups or keys to this game since we're going to get a bunch of backups in this game. But I do want to say this, Gilbert. I mean, you're still going to see some starters because you still have to put 53 guys up out there. You can only suit up 53, and you can only bring up two from the practice squad. So that still limits you. You're going to see some starters, but I think your big names like Aaron Donald, Cooper Cup, Matthew Stafford, and am I missing anybody else? And then Ernest Jones and Joe Noboom, they're not going to play. So outside of that, you're going to see your regular guys. And as you talked about, I think it's more of getting your special teams right if you're the Rams and working on that. And because you have a bunch of young players. But let's get to the 49ers storylines first with you.
Well, how about this first, Victor? How about the Puka Nacua jersey
There we go.
keywords giveaway? That way we don't get many people keep on waiting. There you go. Beat the Niners. I know it's not the most entertaining game or the there's so much on the line in week 18. What a battle here. But still, like Michael, he's been leading the charge. Beat the Niners. That is a keyword for the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway this week. So either comment on the live here, Michael, Delbert, Alonso, I don't think you would, or Nick, comment beat the Niners, or if you're watching the replay, comment there, beat the Niners, and I'll track it and I log it in. And I'll give you one entry to the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway. Again, we're going to give away this jersey when you reach 1,000 subscribers. We're at 8 something right now. So you want to get an entry. Right now, if you want the live, just type in "beat the Niners," or when you're watching the replay. If you're listening on audio, I know we forget about audio sometimes. By the way, we've been seeing the downloads increase on the audio, Spotify, and Apple. So shout out to the supporters there too as well. And so let people know, or even if you didn't know we didn't have an audio version, we do. I know we focus more on the YouTube, but we do have audio. But if you're on audio, get over to YouTube or maybe send me an email, Gilberto at compasonthebeat.com, Gilbert with the no at compasonthebeat.com. Michael, you already did it. Beat the Niners. You're locked in for an entry for the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway.
There you go, and make sure to subscribe. Like I said, if we're trying to get to 1,000, during the playoffs, that'd be great. So that way we can give away the jersey. You'll have, your jersey ready to go for the playoffs. So hopefully we can get there. Help us get there. And so yeah, that's where we're at right now, Gilbert. We're at 805. We've had because of how great the Rams have been doing in this playoff push, it's really helped us, up our subscribers. So we thank you guys for that. All the new people who are subscribing, welcome, because honestly, like without you guys, we can't do this. So there you go, Gilbert. So all right, let's get to 49er storylines first.
Yeah. I see you, Delbert, by the way. Shout out to you, Delbert. You got the comment there. We not me, vamos Rams. But on the 49ers storyline, well, they did everything they needed to do to win the number 1 seed. They did it a week early. They beat the Commanders. Everybody's beating the Commanders. We'll see if the Cowboys do it for the NFC East. But 49ers did their job there. But it doesn't really prove a lot because they played the Commanders and they got their butts whooped by the Ravens. So I want to see eventually where the 49ers really are. Are they still this juggernaut team or this team they got figured out by the Baltimore Ravens? But we'll figure that out in a couple of weeks. And, we'll see who they face, and then as a number one seed, maybe say the Rams upset somebody in wild card weekend, they might get to face the 49ers. And I think that's also a part of it why I kind of don't mind this somewhat meaningless matchup, because you don't want to give away all your tricks before a big time playoff game.
Yeah.
And maybe they do face each other in a divisional round matchup. I think that might be the case there, unless like a 7 seed or whoever, we don't even know yet. But I think we might be headed that way. That's if it's a big upset that occurs, and then maybe 2-4 or 2-5 could be like Eagles Cowboys, something like that. But that's getting too far ahead. But I just want to see what these 49ers do against a good team to respond after what happened with Baltimore, because Baltimore put the blueprint out there and put the game film of what you could do against them. And Baltimore is a very they're a very deep team. They're very chaotic defensively. They threw off Brock Purdy, and they could score points with Lamar Jackson. And I think you've been saying it, Vic, that the Rams match up well with the 49ers, and we won't see it this week, unfortunately, but maybe there's something down the line. Uh, but yeah, it's tough to really gauge these 49ers right now with nothing to play for this week, but they did their job. They dominated for I forgot, I lost track of the winning streak, maybe 6-7 games in a row after they lost 3 straight. Brock Purdy figured it out after he had some issues there when there was no Debo, no Trent Williams. And these 49ers, they got to have Trent Williams and Debo. That I think it goes a long way. But that Ravens game, when everybody was healthy, it kind of does linger in the back of your mind and see who they really are about. But it's also, the good thing about that is, like, if the 49ers were rolling, we would all be talking about it's gonna be the 49ers Super Bowl, and that's it. Now it's like, dang, who's it gonna be? Like, I really like that both sides, NFC, AFC. Maybe the AFC now is kind of tilted to the Ravens a little bit, but even that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills beat them, or the Browns, or even the Chiefs. I don't know, but I just like that part that both sides are open. But as the 49ers, I think we all know the story. They're loaded defensively, offensively. They have a good coach, but for them, their issues are always in the playoffs. And we'll get there. We'll find out if it is truly their year.
Yeah, and that's, I think for me, that's the biggest thing is like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have been at it now for, at least more than 5 years now. So this is their, not, I'm not gonna say that their window is closing because, now that they have Brock Purdy on a rookie contract, they can, restock this roster. The problem is eventually you got to win one of these Super Bowls. You got to, especially with this stacked roster last season. We saw what happened with Brock Purdy getting hurt, and we talked about, if had he played, if he was healthy, they probably would have won the Super Bowl. Well, and then a couple years ago against the Chiefs, if it wasn't for Jimmy G, then they would have won the Super Bowl if he had hit, the receiver on a long pass there. And so I think if you're the 49ers, I think that's your biggest storyline is get ready for the playoffs because that's all that matters right now because we've seen the success of Kyle Shanahan and this team during the regular season. I think you want to see it in the postseason, and they haven't been able, whether wherever he's been, whether it's been with Washington, with Atlanta, and now with the 49ers, you want to see him finally put it together. We saw the same questions with the Rams with Sean McVay. He got to the Super Bowl against the Patriots and got beat, and then he came in as a the Rams came in and as a wild card team, and then they went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago and won it. And so Sean McVay, finally shut the doubters up for a little bit. And now, even after last season, they were like, well, he had a stacked team. And so now, now he's able to take a team that nobody expected to the playoffs. And so now for Kyle Shanahan, it's like, okay, you've had this stacked team for, almost 4 years now, going. You found another diamond in the rough in Brock Purdy. You need to deliver because I think people eventually are just gonna say you're just another offensive coordinator, kind of like Mike Martz that we saw with the Rams.
Yeah, no, those are good points. And I see Danny Ramirez joined us on the Martes Live with Fernando, but not to be confused with our Dan Ramirez, Dan and Diego. But shout out to you, Danny Ramirez. But Dan and Diego reminded me on the show on Compas on the Beat, saying like, he didn't want to give Sean McVay too much credit because he pretty much won a Super Bowl with a stacked roster, and the Rams put it on credit, and they were stacked there, and now to see Sean McVay get this new group and to build it up this quickly to be in the playoffs, he's shown he could do both sides. And with Kyle Shanahan, you're kind of thinking like, well, you got to finish the first job. Like you have a stacked roster and go win that Super Bowl. And they've been and the good thing about the Rams, I mean, sorry, the 49ers, they haven't had to worry too much about the quarterback contract. And like I know Jimmy G got paid, but it wasn't like this massive, contract where like it was really hurting them at other areas. With the Rams, you had to deal with Goff, you had to deal with Stafford, and it was a little tricky. So they had different scenarios, but both are stacked. But then with Brock Purdy, a rookie contract, it opened the door to get a Javon Hargrave, go trade for a Chase Young, give Nick Bosa a monster contract, re-sign Debo Samuel, take on the contract of Christian McCaffrey. They've made all these moves, and I don't want to say it might be down to this final year here. They have a lot of players who are in their prime, but at some point you got to come through, and they haven't really done that. And I'll talk to Alonso right here. We had debates before, like if they lose, is it a failure? And what it takes to win a Super Bowl, because it does require a lot of lucky breaks. So it's always hard to gauge these all-in teams. But at the end of the day, if you don't win one, people are gonna remember you as Dan Marino or the Buffalo Bills of the early 1990s. And then if you win a few, and you're like the Cowboys, they were loaded too. So nobody cares about how you got done, is how you got there or how you got screwed over or whatever. You got to finish the job. And going off of Dan Ramirez's comments, facing a division opponent in the playoffs is always risky, and that's why I'm thinking this might be good that they don't play each other in a real game. Because come the playoffs, pull out all the tricks, the full playbook, and see what happens.
And Ram fans who are going to remind 49er fans, and they'll say, yeah, you've been able to beat us. What is the streak now? I didn't even look it up, but in the regular
Yeah.
season, I think the 49ers have beat the Rams 8 straight now. But when it counted, the Rams beat the 49ers and on their way to the Super Bowl. So there's also that. I mean, and going back to Kyle Shanahan, I think, and to Alonso, who's a 49er fan, you have to eventually, get past get that monkey off your back, and you gotta show that you can win games, and you're just not an offensive coordinator. And I know that, as you said, I know we've been joking about this. We say it in a joking way, but like, hey, maybe the 49ers are gonna go get another defensive guy because they can't seem to stop teams, like the Baltimore Ravens. And eventually you have this, Gilbert, falls on Kyle Shanahan. I think whether they win or lose, it's on him. Whether they win the Super Bowl or they don't, it's on Kyle Shanahan. And I know a lot of people are going to probably blame the defensive coordinator because the 49ers run defense hasn't been great all season.
And that's part of it too. I was gonna you kind of reminded me, like, it could have been like, well, you should have won it with Robert Saleh, or you should have won it with D'Amico Ryan. It's not gonna blame Steve Wilkes. Like, no, like it's not, like either you get it done or you don't. So that's kind of like the thing with the 49ers. They're a frustrating team. And but again, like, I think maybe losing to the Ravens was kind of like a wake-up call. Like, it ain't gonna be that easy. Maybe that could be a beneficial in the long run right there.
If only that, and I mean that's part of, like, as to his point, was it to Danny Ramirez's point, like facing a divisional opponent. This is a type of stuff that you run into, and I mean that's this is why. Let me get to all these comments now, Gilbert, because they're coming in, and this is
Nice.
why we're doing it. So Michael Armenta is back. Says, I like to see the Rams Browns Super Bowl, two dangerous teams. And
Wow.
I mean, everybody keeps talking
Yeah,
about
those
that.
are the two most dangerous wildcard teams, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, those are the two that everybody, I mean, the Ravens don't want to see the Browns, and I bet you the 49ers don't want to see the Rams in the playoffs. So, talking about divisional opponents,
Yeah.
those are the things that you don't want to see. So, I'm sure the 49ers, they want to make sure that the Rams don't get the number 6 seed. And then, because this leads into Alonso's question, serious question: do the Rams have a preference of who they play on the road? Now, Gilbert, the Rams aren't going to say who, but I can tell you who the fans want to see and who the rest of, the NFL experts want to see. They want to see the Rams and Lions, right?
Yeah, I definitely want to see. That's why I'm like worried, like, why didn't get the 6 seed right now? But there's still even a chance for the Lions to get the number 2 seed. It will require the Commanders putting up a fight. Like, if there's one team you could bet on losing everything every week, it's the Commanders, because I don't know, they know that everybody's gonna be let go. But anyways, the point is, I think the Cowboys are gonna win the number 2 seed by beating the Commanders. So that will lock in the Lions at number 3. And then the whole dilemma with, like, if the Rams lose and the Packers win, Then the Rams are number 7. That means Cowboys Rams, and then we all know what happened in Dallas. The Cowboys just steamrolled the Rams. But again, those are two different teams. And it kind of feels like ages ago, and that was during that miss where that led to a 3-6 record at the bye, and it became a new team. And I want to say maybe Kyron Williams didn't even play in that game, and that's the game that Stafford injured his thumb on a weird 2-point conversion, or maybe that was a different game. I'm already blanking, but I just know special team was really bad, and they got their butts whooped there. And maybe it could be a game where they show, hey, we've fixed mistakes and we're ready to go. And the Cowboys they're tough to beat at home, but they're having issues defensively. And if you somehow, easier said than done, if you somehow minimize the damage that CeeDee Lamb's going to put on everybody, which is already a given every week, he's not going to be stopped. But if you contain him, you could definitely, find a way to beat the Cowboys. But I want to say that to me, I feel like because I know the Cowboys will play at home, I feel like the Cowboys will be a tougher matchup because they're at home than Detroit. Detroit is also new to the spotlight here. They clinched the division title for the first time in 30 years. They're all brand new to this besides Jared Goff because he went to the Super Bowl with the Rams. But it's just a storylines for me. I don't even care about the matchup, like who's difficult or who's easier. It's just a storyline. It's Goff versus the Rams. Stafford going to Detroit for the first time. Like all that, I think it'd be a perfect match to kind of have him. It'd be nice too. I like where they give him like a nice ovation in Detroit. I think you should, but it's also a playoff game. Like you better be ready. So things like that. I really hope we get the 3-6 matchup between Detroit and.
Yeah, and then just seeing how these two teams, are, what was I gonna say in terms of how not the same they are, because you had Brad Holmes who went from
Yeah,
the Rams to Detroit. And we saw last season where the Seahawks, the Rams could have helped the Lions get into the playoffs by beating the Seahawks. And then you had all those controversial calls, and we had a bunch of Lion fans on our feed saying, hey, we're rooting for you guys to get in. We're Rams, in North over here. And now to be able to see that matchup, and then I can talk about this just because, like, in terms of juiciest matchups, you go from Rams Lions, and then if you win that, you go 49ers Rams. I mean,
yeah.
it just, for content wise, we're here enjoying that conversation. And then
Yeah, because
not
I think that scenario. I think the Eagles will probably beat the NFC South champion. It wouldn't even matter anyways, right? Because it'll be 4-5. They'll play
yeah.
the Cowboys, and then the 6 will be the lowest one going to the 49ers, and I would love that.
Yeah, so I mean, just something to keep in mind. So to your question there, Alonso, I mean, I think that's the scenario that most Ram fans want to see. Let's get to Delbert here. He said, "Die or die for teams who build now. I'll take the Rams with the momentum, like the Rams and Browns and luck." So, yeah, I mean, that's what you want to be. You want to be healthy and hot going into the playoffs. Your Tocayo Gilbert Dixon, the Niners have no excuses not to win it this year. They're stacked, and yeah, that's what we've been talking. Willie Bowen, Tutu Atwell, Ben Skoranek, and Big Rick Tyler Higbee should be a good reception yardage and touchdowns in this game's horns up.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then Gilbert Dixon is back. The Rams are playoff bound with so many young players. I mean, that's been the storyline for the Rams this season is that, and I'll get to the storyline with them. I just want to get through a lot of these comments here. Michael Armenta, I think the Rams should take a look at Matt Araiza for a kicker in the offseason. And I mean, we can get into that in the offseason, but he's a punter. So I don't think in terms of a kicker, they'll find somebody now that they'll have a little bit more money.
Not worth the
Uh,
trouble when it's a punter.
yeah,
Just saying.
exactly. Willie Bowen agree with Mike. Michael Armenta, hey, they're really Danny or Ramirez. It would be so ironic to see Stafford eliminate the Lions in the playoffs. And then we have a Happy New Year. We can still say Happy New Year. This is the last day, right, Gilbert?
Yeah, you guys are pushing it January 3rd. I'm a stickler for that. Like once it's like January 3rd, like no more. Don't see me on the street on January 4 or 5 or 6 telling me Happy New Year. But real quick on because Danny came through on the live that we did. He mentioned he's a Bears fan, so a lot of Rams fans want to see the Bears beat the Packers to ensure it's
Yeah.
Lions Rams.
Yeah, and we're gonna see the same thing that we saw last season, where a lot of people were on our channel, from the Lions, who were rooting for the Rams to beat the Seahawks in that final game, and now you're gonna probably see a lot of Ram fans going over there to a lot of the Bears channels, telling them that they're rooting for them to, in this Week 18 matchup, and if you guys are interested, we have a show called Looking Ahead that comes out in about an hour, where Gilbert and I go over the rest of the games in the NFL. So, and that's one of the games we're really intrigued to talk about.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you want to hear about the rest of the Week 18 slate? I think 7:45 Pacific time, we'll jump on and talk about the full NFL. But here, because this matchup doesn't mean much, we're here to answer questions for what, another 15 to 20 minutes.
So we got Willie Bowen, who says, "I've been a loyal fan of the Rams since the 1960s." So, I mean,
Nice.
yeah,
Shout out
like,
to you, Willie.
shout out to you. All right, Gilbert. Let me get to the Rams part of the storylines. And for me, Gilbert, I think it's important whether the Rams play their backups, whatever backups they end up playing, that they get the number 6 seed. And I'm going to tell you why it's really important. The number 6 seed under this new format now, Gilbert, they're 4-2 since they added the number 7 seed in both conferences. The number 7 seed is 0-6 during
Mhm.
that time. And now one of the
Interesting.
other, yeah, so you want to get the 6 seed, and you have a better chance of winning. And one of those teams who won as a 6 seed was the Rams. They won a playoff game back in 2021, and I don't know if you remember this game, but this was the one where they started. John Wolford started at quarterback, and then Jared Goff, who had surgery a couple weeks before, had to come in and relieve him, and the Rams ended up winning that game.
Who did they
The
beat?
uh, the Seahawks,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's yeah. Well, he got hurt quickly, right? And then
yes,
Goff came in, and
yeah.
then they played the Packers in the second round, right?
Yeah, and then they lost. They had to go to the Packers and they lost. And then that set the motion for the whole Cabo in the offseason with McVay and Stafford running into each
Yeah,
other. And then
supposedly.
the rest is history. So just I just think it's very important for the Rams, whether, like I said, if they lose a game, they still have a chance to get the 6 seed, like we talked about. They need the Bears to beat the Packers, and I think they have a good shot at the Bears, as we talked about. They've been playing really well. We like what we've seen from Justin Fields. The Bears defense has been outstanding since, I think, week 8. I think they're like number 1 in DBOA. I mean, so there's a lot. And then the Packers are young, you know, and then that also, if the Packers beat the Bears, that also opens the door for the Seahawks to slide in as a number 7 seed. So a lot to get into, but I just think for me the biggest storyline for the Rams is they really need to get the 6 seed, because even with I'm glad they're getting the rest here. They're resting their starters, but at the same time, it is critical that they get the 6 seed, Gilbert.
Yeah, now I think about it, because you mentioned if the Bears beat the Packers and the Seahawks beat the Cardinals, you better beat the Cardinals. But then again, they beat the Eagles, and that could be a 2-7 matchup between the Cowboys and the Seahawks, and they had a fun game on Thursday Night Football. So, yeah, there's many scenarios for the Rams to get the 6 seed and give us our dream scenario here for with the Lions. But watch the Commanders beat the Cowboys and the Lions get the 2 seed, and the Rams, it's gonna be 3-6 Cowboys Rams. But it like last week really, well, I kept thinking, okay, we're gonna have this, we're gonna have that, and then all these scenarios occur that I did not expect. So it's we could talk about it all day, but you never know what could occur in Week 18.
And we have Danny Ramirez again. If the Bears are looking to become serious contenders in the North, they need to start with beating. And I was gonna, Danny, you kind of, that was one of the points I was gonna make in our next show, in the Looking Ahead show. That is that the Bears remind me a lot of the Lions last season, where they got hot late, but they just didn't make the playoffs. I think the Bears are gonna be, you know the what we saw from the Lions next year, because I think, a lot of people had questions about Jared Goff and whether they should keep him. I think those questions are still going to be there for the Lions, but in terms of Justin Fields, I think it's the same kind of comparison there. You have some coaches that were on the hot seat like Dan Campbell, but they've turned things around. So with Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned earlier that one of my preceding predictions was Will Anderson Jr. again, Defensive Player of the Year for rookie. My job at SI also asked me, give us a bold prediction, and I got very specific with my bold prediction. I said the Bears are going to have a rough start. Maybe lose a lot of games the first 2 months, but they're going to have a Lions-like finish at the end. So I'm going to pat myself in the back if that occurs. But I feel like if they go 7-10, I won't accept credit. If they win that game and they go like 8-9, I'm like, okay, I got that right. I knew the Bears will struggle early, and they'll come on pretty late. I know we're not supposed to talk Bears right now, but later
Yeah,
on we will. But that
yeah.
was one of my bold predictions.
Yeah, and I mean, as one of my teams that I thought, 5 new teams to make the playoffs, I had the Rams and I had the Browns, but one of those teams was the Bears, and it was, if Justin Fields doesn't get hurt, they probably end up making the playoffs. So I mean,
Actually, that's
that
true.
you know,
And the funny thing for me was like maybe because you saw more of that, more glass half full, and I said glass half empty. The Bears to me felt like they still needed one more year. Like I liked their offseason moves, and the same thing with the Rams, where I liked their draft class, and I decided both of them needed one more year. The Bears obviously did, but the Rams didn't. But it could like it really shows you that if you hit on these offseason moves, either the draft or free agency, for the Bears was a little bit of both. It really makes a difference. So especially a Bears project that was so I guess maybe the Rams, you can't really say the Rams rebuild was sold to the ground because they had an established quarterback, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, and an established coach. The Bears were really, really starting from like kind of ground zero. So to me, I feel like they needed one more year. And maybe with the Rams, I should have gave them more credit to see this kind of quick rise here. But I don't know, like maybe to you, you're still a little surprised. But I know you had them penciled in for the playoffs.
yeah, just because whether it was the fact that they had a third place schedule, my biggest thing too was the fact that usually you throw out, you throw out teams out there because you know how this league changes from year to year. I think that's one of the mistakes people make. I'm always surprised when I see people choosing the same teams to be in the playoffs, and I'm just like, you do realize that this league, it doesn't matter. We always get 5 new teams into the playoffs, and so that's part of the thing. But I think for me, the biggest reason was because we saw it in training camp. I only went to one training camp, and I told you right after that, I was like, I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing. I think if you get Sean McVay to commit to this team, to developing this team, you're going to see a different team, and you saw it. And I'll be honest, I didn't see all these players developing like the way they have, but I just did see Cooper Cup. I mean, I thought Cooper Cup was going to have a rebound year. Turns out it was Puka Nacua who
Yeah.
they finally, they gave him. I told you midway through the season, just make Puka Nacua the number one guy because you could, and to Cooper Cup's credit, Gilbert, I'll say this: just I haven't talked about this, but just going around the league, you see guys like Diggs, AJ Brown being upset about not getting the ball, and then you see Cooper Cup, who's won a triple crown. What is he doing? He's mentoring Puka Nacua. He's doing the dirty work, which we thought was going to be the other way around. I didn't see Cooper Cup having the Woods role, and credit to him,
Yeah.
man. He's been a role model, and that's why I root for guys like Cooper Cup because they're not out there making a big deal out of the fact that they're not getting the ball. I mean, yeah, Stafford's still getting him targets, and he's had a lot of drops. I mean, I saw a stat where Matthew Stafford and Patrick Mahomes are number one in drop passes by their receivers or tight ends. So I mean, but that also tells you about how big Cooper Cup has been to this team. Whether it's he's been a mentor and a leader for that offense, and Aaron Donald has been a leader for that defense.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for Cooper, but he's not sulking about it. He's making sure that everybody else is ready to go. And I've seen that firsthand, like, even during training camp when he was, dealing with a bad hammy and, he had to, take on the coaching role and he's trying to teach Puka and he was bragging about Puka early on. Or even last year when like people were saying is Tutu Atwell gonna ever do anything as a second round pick and he kept praising and I hope you're fine, he'll be fine. Things like that. And they always go to him. So, he's not like the flashiest guy, but like, he's all about business and football. But he's not to himself. He makes sure that people are learning and things like that. But yeah, he's had some drops where it's not really like him. He's had to deal with some injuries, especially to start the season. But yeah, to learn so much from a guy who's very technical and who knows all the small details. Like again, he's not the most athletic guy, but he made a career from Eastern Washington because he knows all the little details, the fundamentals, how to get open, how to create leverages for yourself, how to get communication, get on the same page with the quarterback. All these little things that you overlook when you're very athletic. Cooper Cup got it, and he became one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And now he's applying that to the younger guys, and I'm sure, like the way we talked about Bobby Wagner and Ernest Jones and that mentorship, I'm sure Puka will praise the crap out. I'm sure he already does it out of Cooper Cup for the help.
Yeah, and I mean, and then you're getting a surprise play from Demarcus Robinson. This is the type of players that you need to step up to be able to be a playoff team. I mean, you have a young roster here, and so with that, it not only is it the development of those young players, but you also need those guys to hit in free agency, like the Akello Witherspoons, the Demarcus Robinson, and we'll see what happens with those guys in the offseason, whether they're brought back. But at this point, right now, it all goes to, from top to bottom. It's been a good process, and that's why they're here. They're in the playoffs now, Gilbert.
Yeah, and yeah, Kevin Dotson's the other name too from those. It's either a newcomer, free agent, or veteran, or a rookie or second year guy, and you know, it's been cool to see this team really develop and make noise. And we have to wait one more week to see what happens. But hey, and shout out to Daniel here. Got a comment from Daniel on Kobe Turner has to win Davis a rookie year, and maybe he'd make a. I don't know. Like, you think he will play because I feel like he is a very important player, but he's also a rookie, and so I don't know. But maybe he makes some plays this weekend. Maybe kind of boost it. But I don't think I will play him either. But like you
I
mentioned,
wouldn't either, but I think because of I mean, you only have a certain amount of spots. You're already resting, I think, what is it? You're already resting about 7 players, so that kind of cuts it
a lot.
short
Yeah,
in terms of the amount of players because you can suit up what 48, I think, but I think that's how many you can
yeah,
suit up on
47,
game day.
48. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you're gonna sit 7 of them, so that kind of limits your roster there to 41. So I would think he's gonna play like you said.
yeah.
He's a young guy and he can break the Rams rookie record. It'd be
Yeah,
nice with Aaron
that's the
Donald
thing.
there.
Like you want to break the record with Puka, and then Kobe put him out there. The only one I wouldn't put is Kyron because such a physical spot that he plays as a running back, and he's already had some injuries. I guess the young guys he could maybe take a little chance because they are rookies and they'll have fresh legs. But I don't know. These guys have been so important. This rookie class, man, it's a really a big part of the turnaround. But to the point where we're talking about a third round pick, like, hey, don't play that guy or a fifth round pick. So it tells you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and to Daniel Ramirez's point here, Cup is a master of his craft, and Puka's a scrappy and defensible receiver, crazy for a rookie. And I mean, one of the things I keep hearing from people is like, I just don't understand how the Rams do it. Like, how do you find a guy like in Cooper Cup in the third round, and then you find Puka Nacua in the fifth round? That's just scouting, man. Like they know what they like, they know the type of players. There's I give credit to the Ravens and their personnel for being able to hit on on their draft picks, but those are the early rounds. I think if you're looking for a franchise that hits on the middle to late rounds, it's the Rams, and I can't think of another one unless you know of another one, Gilbert.
Yeah, obviously all the ones that win every like even like the 49ers had one and the safety Brown, like I think he was not even like a third round pick. They didn't even have a first or a second, I feel like, and he's contributing after Ufanga got hurt. So the ones that win, consistently always have something, in the middle rounds too. So
Yeah, the
e-
49ers, you're right. I mean the linebackers, they're all in the
yeah,
middle.
some of these
Yeah,
guys like Warner and Greenlaw need to be developed. So and then even like a team like the Lions, they're like, they're winning now, but like they've really hit on their draft class. But uh, it goes a long way like that, especially when you hit from all not just the first round and you have depth and you're building like If the Rams keep doing it, they're gonna soon have some depth. They don't have the depth right now because this is the first time they're really doing it with these rookie class. But yeah, it's gonna go a long way.
Yeah, and the future looks bright now with now that you've been able to hit on these draft picks because you're gonna have 12 draft picks, you're gonna have a first round pick this offseason plus
Wow,
65, 70
first
million
round.
dollars in cap space. So I mean there's a lot to look forward
And
to.
and
So
real quick, I wonder how many scouts were pointing at Puka when he was running for the 80-yard catch and he got gas at the end. Like, see, that's why we didn't draft the guy. He's not that
yeah.
fast.
Yeah, I know. I mean that's
A
part of
different burner would have got to the end zone, I felt like, but like that was such a
yeah.
long run too.
Yeah, I mean that sucks, but hey, I mean they'll take his blocking and to
Route
Delver's
running and everything. Good
to
hands.
Delver's point here, the unselfish chemistry is what I admire about our Rams. Kudos to the coaching staff, and I mean, and then Daniel Calderon, the scout team is crazy good at scout, and then the other thing too, Gilbert. I mean, Brad Holmes, and he came from the less need scouting tree there, so. I mean, shout out to the Lions and the Rams for being able to hit on. I'm sure they look at their scouts and they're good at identifying them. Michael Armenta, Rams receivers are doing some serious blocking too. Even little Tutu, I hope he gets some touches from Wentz. I think we'll see. Sean McVay has said that part of the reason that we didn't see him a couple weeks ago was because of the concussion. So, but he's gonna get some run in this game, and you're gonna see, Demarcus Robinson, and then that yeah, and then he's Daniel Calderon or AJ Brown. We'll get to that in the offseason, Daniel. AJ Brown to the Rams next year, and Snead won't make it happen. We'll see. I mean, we'll see if he says F them picks again, and if they're in a different situation. Danny Ramirez wants to know: I am curious to hear if that do the Rams start thinking about the future quarterback and
I don't know. Stafford's looking good.
yeah, and but you also, you don't want to. I told you as I told you, Gilbert. I think you have to start looking at backup quarterbacks. You don't. We talked about this. We thought that Baker Mayfield would stick around and be the backup. Same thing might happen with Carson Wentz. He might not stick around, and so you might want to take a shot at drafting a quarterback in the middle because I don't see Stenson Bennett being back. I mean, I think that's a lost cause at this point, I should say.
Yeah, but that kind of shows they were trying to do a different route because with guys with names like that, with Baker and Carson, they're always itching to get a starting job. So I think they come to the Rams thinking, okay, I'll learn from McVay, put some good tape out there, and I'll learn that way. Like we see Baker doing well. Well, besides last week, I don't know what the heck that was, but Baker had a nice year. And now they're talking about having a long term contract in Tampa Bay. So I could see Carson maybe doing something like that unless like nobody calls him and like, hey, he likes it being with Stafford. It could be something, and you feel much better having a Carson Wentz than a Brett Rippon as your backup. So obviously, you got to think about that, and we'll see. Like I think a lot of these teams are gonna, like you mentioned, pay for a Jake Browning or Garner Minshew or who else or Joe Flacco, I guess. Like guys like that. So you better be well protected. So I think for the Rams to start, they'll probably think that way, like a good number two. It might be maybe a little too early for a starting quarterback because Stafford's shown what he could do. And like he's not the oldest guy, like he's not on Aaron Rodgers just yet level. But I think like he keeps doing what he's doing. I think another 3 to 4 years where you could maybe have another run. And I call this kind of like a second chapter between McVay and Stafford. Like they had the crappy year last year. Now they got this new core group. Like it can really open up another 3 4 years. And I mentioned it reminded me when the Saints came to town, and when the Saints hit on that draft class with Kamara and Marshawn Lattimore and Trey Hendrickson, and I'm keep going and on, but it was a stacked draft class, and Drew Brees and Sean Payton had done nothing for 4 years, and then they go and they go to three or four playoff appearances, they win the Super Bowl, but it gave them another phase, and I could definitely see that for Stafford. It could be 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and I mean, as long as you keep building this offensive line and you have a protection for him, you can keep him healthy. I mean, part of the reason that the Rams have made the playoffs is the fact that you got 15 games out of Matthew Stafford this season, and keeping him healthy has been a big part. I mean, when he got hurt and he injured his finger against the Cowboys, we said it. I'm like, this might be it, and credit to him, he got himself healthy. They gave him 3 weeks to get healthy. They blew the loss to the Packers, where they probably should have had someone like Carson Wentz on the team by then. But hey, it worked out, and that's all you can ask for. But to Danny Ramirez question, I think you take a chance on a quarterback in the early rounds and see what you can. I mean, it's going to be a good quarterback draft, and so if you can get somebody either in the second or third round, you take a shot.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. And I just saw Alonso's comment, made me laugh about Cup retiring, but I don't think so just yet. But yeah, keep getting younger guys to make Cooper Cup feel older.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think he's gonna retire. He's got a good contract, and so I just think that he's gonna, I think it's gonna help him to have someone like Puka, and I'm sure they'll draft another receiver, and having the Marcus Robinson also helps if they bring him back. So but Gilbert, we're almost an hour and 20 minutes in. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's joined us so far. We had Alonso, we had Daniel Ramirez, Daniel Calderon, Michael Armenta, Delbert Salgado, Daniel Calderon, Willie Bowen, Gilbert Dixon, we had Nice Talks LA, and then I had one more, and Diamond, who put
Yeah.
in the Puka Nacua jersey giveaway keyword. So that's
Yeah,
awesome to
he's one
see.
of the ones that's really locked in every week for this jersey. I like it.
Yeah. So, but Gilbert, I just wanted to get your thoughts, just like in terms of, we know we're not going to get much out of this game. We're not going to learn much from it. But what do you want to get out of this game? And then, as we get ready to kind of preview the playoff matchup, wherever they end up going.
Yeah, and honestly, just stay healthy. Like you mentioned, you got to play some dudes, and they're going to be important players, and you can't just have a bunch of backups out there. So stay healthy, and just kind of get a good rhythm, feeling good about special teams. Try to fix mistakes, or obviously you can't do everything when it's a bunch of backups. But special team, I think that's one area they could grow and learn from, and then spend the extra week where like just learn about, how to, fix some mistakes about the downfield shots, closing opponents, things like that, scoring in the red zone. But, you know, at this point, it's kind of let's get to the playoffs. You could try to break it down all we can, but you never know what could occur. And I'm excited to see what happens in a week or two and see what matchup they get. We'll find out, on Sunday. But hey, who would have thought this game, Carson Wentz and Sam Darnold?
Yeah, not me. I can tell you that. But yeah, for me, it's just, I just want to see what the special teams can do. You have a lot of young guys out there. They've been, thrown out to the fire, and because of it, and it kind of sucks that probably the special teams coordinators, he's having to juggle a bunch of young guys, and so I think you just want to see improvement from this unit, whether it's the punt coverage, the kickoff coverage, and then I think the biggest thing is just letting Brett Maher kick the ball. I think if you can get 4 or 5 field goals out of him
Yeah.
just to get him on a roll here, I think that's the biggest thing you want to get out of this game, because it's meaningless. You want to get the 6th seed, and then if you end up losing this game, then you got to hope that the Bears beat the Packers, and then that way you can get the 6th seed, and then we get that dream matchup that we've been hoping for between the Rams and Lions.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But I'm ready to get going, Vic, because we got this other show too, looking
Yep.
ahead. But it's good to see all these comments and people jumping in, and for a game that doesn't mean anything right now, to see everybody pretty excited. Like Michael was the one getting the ball rolling, and the first comment too with Nick, he also was pretty excited. So it's good to see that and all the support. But I'm just already, I could keep telling everybody I'm ready for a matchup, and that's why I was so negative last week, because you got to do this better when you face the Lions or the Cowboys. But one week at a time.
Yeah, and we got Michael Armenta. Appreciate your insights and analysis, guys. Thank you. Hey, like what do we say, Gilbert? Tell a friend, be a compa, tell a friend.
Yeah.
to subscribe. Like I said, we're trying to give away this Puka Nacua jersey, trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you can help get the word out, we would really appreciate it. That's all we ask for. We try to give as much content as we can, give you the best analysis, and when it comes to the Rams here, Gilbert.
Yeah, no, thank you, Michael, for that. We appreciate it. I feel like we're learning more names every single week with people jumping in the comments. Used to be a few. Daniel's been around for the longest. We appreciate your support. But the more people, the better. And again, yeah, be a compa, tell a compa about House of Horns, compas on the beat, and just subscribe to keep growing the channel and the network too at the same time. And like I mentioned, if help us out, get some merch you want to have or a hoodie. We had somebody get a hoodie, get a hoodie. There you go. And hopefully they got it because I had a little trouble, but I think they got it, and hopefully they're enjoying it. And then yeah, we got some donations. The Worm had a nice donation last week. Where's the Worm, by the way? Hopefully, if you're watching the replay, shout out to you. That still means a lot. But yeah, certifiedcompas.shop or super sticker, super like, or super whatever. Danny, we're glad to have you on board. I know you're a Bears fan. To be here at House of Horns too, where it's all Rams. We appreciate it, but also in a good week because the Bears need to help out the Rams by beating the Packers.
There you go. So yeah, Gilbert, we're on to week 18 now, Gilbert. Rams 49ers, the battle of the backups between Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz. So we'll
Yeah.
be on after the game. Give you guys the post game show. I'm sure we're not going to talk much about the game, but we'll talk more about where the Rams are at and where they're going to be playing in the on wild card weekend. So we'll get into that. So make sure you join us there because I'm sure you have comments to let us know how excited you are about where the Rams are going to be heading for wild card weekend.
Yeah, and final thing, if you're not tired of our faces and hearing us talk, check out the Looking Ahead show. It will be on the YouTube channel here on House of Horns. We'll have it on Compass on the Beat too, the live stream. Again, we talk about all NFL there, all Week 18 games. So, you want to hear about that? You're not tired of us? Jump back on around 7:45. But yeah, we're ready, Vic.
Yeah, ready to go. Go ahead and
All right,
close us out.
we got the cat screaming in the background. Time to
Yeah,
feed him. But
yeah.
on that note, ya nos vamos, pues, vámonos.